Hello and welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation. With me, your host Owen, the channel that brings you your team every single day. If you need your daily Rangers fix, this is the channel to come to. It brings you obviously daily news, transfer speculation, transfer rumours, club statements, media stories, games during the season, podcasts, so much content, including the podcast that we've got coming up tonight with myself and Victoria Searle. But we are joined tonight, obviously, by Marina Bannatyne and Caroline Morrison from Heart and Hand to talk all things Rangers. That should be absolutely fantastic tonight. So please come and join us at 7:30 tonight here on the channel. Well, yesterday wasn't a great day, was it, for football news, in terms of football news for Rangers? News obviously that a number of media outlets, despite what some people have said about it being fake news, like I'm just reporting what is in multiple media outlets out there. It's not just one. So the way I do it is if it's one media outlet reporting a story, there's probably a good chance that it's a load of rubbish and it's made up. But when it's 2, 3, 4 media outlets all running with the same story, with the same content, with the same detail, there's a good chance that there's some truth in that story. Now, obviously, the first one yesterday was the news that Searle has announced that he is not going to join Rangers and he wants to stay and try and obviously get back into Serie A. Now, obviously, this looks like it is probably the case. Now, if it is the case, which, like I said, I've got no reason to doubt, obviously, all these Italian media sources that are reporting this, as well as obviously English and Scottish websites also reporting this piece of news as well. We've got to reflect on this. Number one, we don't want players like that. We want players who want to come to the club. We want players who want to come and fight and die for the shirt. We want players who are volunteers, not hostages. I follow American football quite closely. Pittsburgh Steelers are my American football team, and we have a head coach called Mike Tomlin, and that's one of his big sayings. We don't want hostages. We want volunteers. We want people who want to be at the club, and that's what we want. And if Dessus doesn't want to be here, then fine. He doesn't need to be here. Like I said, Michael Beale needs to obviously now work on new striker targets. There was obviously the news as well, which was officially confirmed by Rangers Review, that Malik Tillman, obviously, will not sign for Rangers this summer. And I think he's probably heading to the EPL, to someone like Brentford or Brighton, for a substantially larger fee than the 5 million Rangers thought they had agreed with Bayern Munich. Although Bayern have obviously compensated Rangers by paying them £1 million for breaking that loan agreement. And obviously the taking away that option to buy. And perhaps also a thank you as well for the work that we've done with Tillman, turning him into a footballer that is worth substantially more than the money that we were going to pay for him. Adding to that as well, the fact that a sell-on clause of 10% has been inserted into Malik Tillman's contract, and that 10% will go to Rangers, which I think is really good of Bayern to do that. And I think it does show, for me, what a classy club Bayern Munich really are. You've got to admire the way they do things. They admire the way that they look after their fans. Admire the way that obviously they put a lot of ex-Bayern players into positions of responsibility, people who understand what it is to be a Bayern player and to play for the club. And I think they're a good model to follow. And perhaps, Rangers could learn a little bit from Bayern Munich about how to do business and how to move forward as a club into a modern era. They play in a league that is very much a 1 to 2, two team, maybe you could argue, with Borussia Dortmund league. Yes, the standard below those teams is higher, with obviously other teams in and around them, but like RB Leipzig, for example. But at the end of the day, perhaps, there's something we can learn from how Bayern Munich obviously operate. Yes, I know they have financially more money, but there is things to learn, obviously, from well-run clubs. As to what is happening with the striker business, look, I 100% agree with loads and loads of you have commented on my videos, and lots of you have said the same thing, that you want wingers and strikers in, and that I think is a big priority for me. Wingers, strikers, we've got to get some in. We've got to really try and address that. Obviously, Luis Palma was one that was heavily linked. That seems to have died now. Dessus is dying off as a story. Tillman not coming. The Josh Maja situation obviously is all up in the air. And I think if Maja is going to come, it will be into July before he actually arrives at the club, meaning he will have missed some of the initial days of pre-season, which obviously a lot of it there is fitness work, which is obviously going to be a bit of an issue for him. What else? Well, there is obviously ongoing speculation as regards the strikers. Hadji Wright is still being now talked of in the media. Obviously, I think Rangers were slightly put off by the 10 million asking price before, but it now seems, according to a number of reports, that Rangers will be willing to push out the boat for Hadji Wright. I think perhaps recognising that we do need that 25 to 30 goal a season man, and maybe Hadji Wright is that player that can come in and do that job for Rangers. So I guess we've just got to wait and see what happens on that one. In addition to strikers, what else do Rangers need? Well, I think we need a centre-back. Definitely we need a left-sided centre-back. That is certainly something that we need to continue looking at. If Borna Barisic decides to move on this summer, which there appears to be a growing likelihood that he could well do, then a left-back, someone to back up Ridvan Yilmaz, or even to take Ridvan's place if his form is better than Ridvan's, is certainly something I think Rangers will need to look at this coming summer. It is, like I said, the biggest worry though for me is the striker situation. If we are going to catch and pass and do better than that lot from across the city, then strikers are an absolute must for me. I'll be honest with you, I wasn't convinced by Dessers. I didn't like his record. He had one good season in Holland for Feyenoord. But other than that, he never really in the last few seasons pulled up any trees or done anything particularly amazing. So was he necessarily going to be that striker that would score you 25 to 30 goals a season? I would say not. I don't think there's any guarantees of that. Yes, I think, Michael Beale loves the reclamation project. And whilst obviously we've got to kind of cut our coat according to our cloth as well. And, yes, we'd all love to go out and spend 10, 15, 20 million pounds on a striker. But that just isn't possible at the moment for Rangers. We don't have the funds to go and do that. So it's all very much, a situation where we've got to look at those players like Dessers, like Lammers, who are perhaps players that we can bring in, we can reclamate, we can rebuild and turn into the players they used to be. I think that was obviously the intention. But obviously now that Dessers is decided to stay in Italy, there is, I think, a need for Michael Beale to really go out and chase and find a new striker. Obviously, like I said, Hadji Wright seems to be on the radar still. Josh Maja seems to be on the radar still. Maybe even, like I've alluded to in other videos, go and put a bid in for Lawrence Shankland. I mean, they can only say no or quote you a stupid price that you're not going to pay. At the end of the day, Shankland's proved that he can do it in this league. He's proved that he is a player more than capable of scoring goals. Yes, I know some are penalties, but we can't use that argument if we are saying, obviously, and admiring what James Tavernier does with goals. He scores penalties too. So it's 6 and 2 threes. It swings and roundabouts, isn't it? I'm hoping that after I was listening to Rangers review this morning with Derek Clark, they were saying that there appears to be no truth in the rumours linking Rangers to this man. Yes, Lyndon Dykes, the Scottish international striker, which I'm over the moon about, really. He's a player I really don't rate. Lacks pace, lacks power. He averages 0.28 goals per 90 minutes, which is actually only a little bit better than Fashion Sakala, someone who's coming for criticism from Rangers fans. It's worse than Alfie, who was 0.61 goals per 90 minutes. And it's definitely worse than Josh Maja's as well. So, look, I'm glad that it appears that was not happening, that there's no truth in that rumour that Lyndon Dykes is on Michael Beale's radar. Lyndon Dykes, for me, is just a striker who is not capable of playing at this level. Look, yeah, he might be able to do it against the likes of Livingston and St Johnstone and St Mirren and things like that, but you put him up against Celtic, you put him up against teams in Europe, he isn't going to cut it. He just simply is not going to cut it. Whereas I think the likes of Maja, Shankland, Freegan, Hadji Wright can. Dykes is someone I do not ever want to see in a Rangers shirt, ever, period. He just is an awful player. I mean, I've seen him play for QPR this season, and he was poor. He was really poor. 8 goals only this season, and he didn't even look sharp or look like he was going to get goals. He just doesn't have the quality, the skill, footballing intelligence. Like I said, I really do not rate the guy at all. He is a poor player. Now, in other news, obviously, like I alluded to yesterday on the podcast, that lot from across the city have obviously appointed a new manager in Brendan Rodgers. Now, Rangers ex-manager Graham Souness has been talking to Talk Sport about the appointment of Brendan Rodgers across Glasgow at that lot, that manky mob. And he's kind of, I don't know, he's worried. I'll be honest with you. Graham Souness, And look, I get what people are saying. It's that lot. Who cares? Whatever. But this is Graham Souness talking now. One thing we've got to kind of get our heads around is when Rangers legends, when people, that have really come to this club, that have achieved, that know how to achieve for this club, that did amazing for this club, talk, when legends talk, when veterans talk, we kind of owe it to them to listen to what they've got to say. When people who have been there, seen that, done that, bought the T-shirt, do it, I think we do need to kind of listen to them. Graham Souness admits that he has concerns, obviously, about Rangers for next season, given the fact that he does think that Brendan Rodgers has been promised a substantial transfer budget by Dermot Desmond. Now, apparently, Brendan Rodgers wasn't intending not to come back into football management this year. He was intending to take a year out of the game to rest, to relax, and get recharged. But apparently, Desmond begged the former Leicester manager to come back to that lot from across the city. Now, there's got to be something, obviously, other than the salary that has attracted Rodgers to come back, something that Desmond has offered. And Graham Souness obviously is slightly concerned that this could be a substantial transfer budget over and above anything Rangers have. Rodgers obviously has a 3-year deal and wants to make a mark in Europe. That, again, is something he's talked about. He's talked about making a mark in the Champions League, and that obviously is a situation where you need to spend to do that. And it appears that there is perhaps a chance that Desmond has offered him a substantial budget. Now, Graham Souness has said that he's worried that whatever money they have can blow whatever money we have out of the water due to the fact their revenue is a great deal higher than ours at this moment in time, unfortunately. This is what Graham Souness had to say when he was talking to Talk Sport. He says, "I'll tell you what it does. Obviously, my focus on the other side of Glasgow, this is the worry for me as a Rangers man, that he asked for assurances on budgets, what he is going to spend, how much he can spend. I'm sure Brendan he would have got job offers back in England, maybe not Premier League, but certainly top-end Championship. So it worries me slightly that he has gone back for the fact alone that promises have been made to him about budgets, how much he can spend, and that isn't good news for Rangers." So there is obviously a concern there. And, Graham Souness, like I said, you may not want to hear that. You may not want to talk about that lot from across the city. But I think, like I said to you, when a legend speaks, when someone who has been there, seen it, done it, bought the T-shirt, who knows how this club works, who knows what the fans want, who knows what the players need, who knows the club inside out, is talking, we need to listen, and we owe it to him to listen to him. And I think it is concerning, isn't it? It is concerning slightly. So we really do need to go out and get those strikers and wingers. I think that is a big, big plus. And then you've got to obviously then put the team together. You've got to coach the team, and it is responsible, I think, that we get this team together as soon as possible to get a situation where we can hit the ground running. That is certainly something that we have to do. But like I said, when Graham Souness talks, we need to listen. Well, Rangers fans, let me know what you think of our stories this morning. Any questions, any comments, anything you want to get across, any questions you'd like me to ask Caroline and Marina in the podcast tonight, drop them below. As always, like I said, it wasn't the best day for news yesterday. Let's hope for a better day today for news. Let's hope for some positive news, perhaps on the seafood front, perhaps on the striker search front as well, and maybe even a winger or two linked with the club. Well, thank you for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation. As always, guys, if you enjoyed the content, please hit that like, hit the sub, ring the bell, and come and join the family. You can also join the channel as well. Join buttons down below, or it's back on the homepage. So please have a go and perhaps support the channel. It would be fantastic if you could, like the 36 others that we have already got as members for our channel. Remember always, we are the people.